Hello! So we're live for our second time today. We're going live every hour today. I'm Cam. This is
Frank.
Frank. Nobody calls him Frank. Everybody well, actually some people call you Frank.
It's zippier. Frank.
I call him Francis. Actually, I call him Sexy, as you know. So we are this time we're going to talk about what is gematria and what are gematric readings. And gematria, like I have said a couple of times in the other videos, it originated as a mystical Jewish numerology, but it's so much more than that. And so, well, I'm gonna let the expert talk about it.
No, keep going. You're doing good.
So it's an ancient numerology, and really what it is it's I'm gonna let Francis talk about like all the details, but it's taking the letters of so in the ancient Jewish mystical numerology, it was done in Hebrew. So it would take the Hebrew letters, and you would map numbers onto those letters.
And I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but
Okay.
I just wanted to add that it's the correlations are not arbitrary. They're because Hebrew and Greek, they didn't have a separate sign symbol for numbers like we do. We write the letters, and we have the alphabet, and we have numbers. So they would they would express the numbers through the letters, their letters. And so there was a more or less, I'd say it's like a long-standing, really dependable correlation between whatever numbers, and I'll explain this later, that's assigned to the letter. So it's not arbitrary. There's two basic forms. It's the ordinal, which is just counting the alphabet 1 through 24 or 22, and then there's also the numerical system. I'll explain that later, but I just wanted to add that it's not just mapping arbitrary numbers or mapping it arbitrarily, but they've been for centuries old, maybe longer. That these correlations were made. So when you have a particular verse, for example, a particular word in Greek or in Hebrew, and then you map on the numbers, and then you calculate the numbers, for a word, for a phrase, anything like that. Those numbers are, they have some stability in them because they've been for a long time. Those correlations for a long time have been pretty set. I just wanted to add that. So go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, well, actually, that's really interesting because the important thing that I heard you say was that the numbers, there wasn't like a separate numeral system, and that was how the numbers were represented, was through the letters. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's the sort of the basis for that. So what I'm calling, I guess, the stability, and the sort of more the rigid, long-standing, kind of cemented correlation. So I wanted to emphasize that it's far from being, just mapping it, arbitrarily, and so this has been. So when you have these values are sort of dependable. They're really correlated with that. Since they're correlated with those letters, they, whatever value they add up to, they're dependable. I guess is just all I'm saying.
And in the sense that they're dependable, meaning there's like a historical use of them. They've been used over time,
Yeah.
And so that, to me, whenever I hear you talk about that, what that makes me like intuitively really sense is that when we're applying them to the subtext in our own lives, like when we do the gematria, when you do like the readings in the gematria of like our names and our birth dates and things like that, it's really amazing to look at how God Source Universe has used those that historical, mystical, numerological process that was established for centuries, and it's applied in our lives. Like, that's always what stands out to me. And I just think it's like really, really phenomenal.
Yeah, I think, I guess, sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to add to that stability part that I was talking about. It's I think, at least for me in the beginning, it was more like it sort of dispels a lot of skepticism, because you could really kind of think through it, that the chances of these correlations being arbitrary or being arbitrary are probably, they're next to nil, so when you find something significant, and there are a lot of, there's a lot of researchers out there, they go through, like pages and pages and a lot of research showing that this really couldn't be arbitrary, and I'll talk more about that later. But what's really amazing about that is, like, there's this sort of stable, dependable, like I said, historical basis for it. But at the same time, some of these numbers would, as you'll find, would match up with, your credit card number or your phone number or your birthday, and that's the part where, go ahead. This is your part.
Cammy is like yelling in the background. She's like, come over. You want to come over? Oh, we don't have your shoes. Hold on, we'll get your shoes for you. So we're probably gonna out on this video since Cammy needs us. She'll probably make an appearance later in one of these videos. But yeah, like, this stuff is always so amazing. And isn't he like a kid in a candy store? I wrote that in my status last night. He's like a kid in the candy store talking about gematria. He's been doing it like for 5 years every day, and it's just like, can't get enough of it. It's so fun. Okay, we'll see you in the next hour.